Hello, class. I hope you're still good. Those who just joined us for the first time, can you please subscribe and click that notification button so you can be notified when you go live again. Today, we're doing let's start at parabola. Okay, let's talk about parabola graph. Let's talk about parabola graph. Parabola graph says it's, where when let's start about how to draw a parabola graph. I think let's start here. How to draw a parabola. Okay, let's say you are given the equation that says f at x is equals to x squared minus 4. Okay, so where do we start? We start at x-intercept. X-intercept. At x-intercept, we let y to be what? To be 0. Okay, so don't be confused. F at x is the same as y. So what will be having here? Let's replace 0 where there is f at x because f at x it is our y. We're going to have 0 is equals to x squared minus. We're going to have x squared minus 4. Okay, and now what do? We factorize. These are different of two squares. We're going to have x and x. We're going to have minus 2 and plus 2. Okay, and then we're going to have x minus 2 is equals to 0, or x plus 2 is equals to 0. So what is the value of our x? My x is going to be 2 and the other x is going to be minus 2. Okay, are we done, class? No, we are not done. Okay, what do we calculate now? We calculate our y-intercept. Okay, calculate our y-intercept. What are we going to have in our y-intercept? Here we let x to be 0. So it means that where there is x, I must substitute what? 0. Okay, let's say we're having our equation. Let's say f at x equals to what must I substitute where there is x? I must substitute 0. So what is my y-intercept? It's 4. It's minus 4, I mean. So now we have to do our beautiful coordinate. It means my coordinate here will be 2 is 2. What is the value of y that I substituted? C. See? And the other coordinate is going to be what? Minus 2. What is the value of x of y that I substituted? It's 0. And here, what is the value of x that I substituted? 0. What is the value of y? Minus 4. Just like that. To get it? Now, what do? Now I must draw my equation. Okay? My equation is going to be something like, let's see. Let's draw a Cartesian plane. Okay? Let's try to draw a Cartesian plane. Okay? We're having something like this in our Cartesian plane, guys. So, from the information that we have, we know that my x-intercept, it is here in what? Minus 2, and also here in what? Positive 2. What is my y-intercept? It is here, where there is minus 4. So what do I do now? You just join. You just join, class. That's it. Then you will have your beautiful graph like that. And here, this point you will show that is point minus 2 is to 0. And here, you will also show that this point is 2 is to 0. Also, this point, that is what? We will show this 0 is to minus 4. Okay, and then here you will write this graph. It is f at x is equals to x squared minus 4. That's it. By doing so, you get a beautiful 4 to 5 marks. Okay, what is the logic? You calculate x-intercept, y-intercept, and then you sketch your graph. Okay, let's see what we have. Okay, so by so doing, let me check if I can have something for you guys. Okay, let's have this equation. We're saying f at x is going to be what? Minus x squared plus plus. Okay, so with this, we're saying sketch the graph showing showing what? Intercept with the axis with the axis. Okay, can you please try this? Then and then our work will be your correction. Okay, we are not in a hurry today. Can you please try this? Do the approach that I showed you. I believe in you. You can do it. I'm giving you 5 minutes, guys. Try this question. Okay, try this question, guys. Hey guys, let's continue. Okay, so how do we approach this question? Okay, we start by calculating um x intercept, and we know that when you calculate x intercept, what do? You let y to be equals to 0. Okay, so it means that in this case we are going to have what? 0 is equal to minus x squared plus 4. Okay, is this equation in a standard form? No, we must divide by minus. Okay, we must divide by minus 1. Divide every time by minus 1, and we're going to have 0 is equals to x squared minus 4. And what do we do now? We factorize. Okay, we're going to have x minus 2, and then plus 2. And then we are going to have what? X is equals to 2, or x is equals to minus 2. Then what is our coordinate here? 2 is 2. What is the value of y we replaced? 0. Okay, and we are going to have minus 2 and 0 again. And now we come to y-intercept. Okay, When we come to y-intercept, what do? We let x to be 0, just like that. Okay? And here what we're going to have? We're going to have f at x is equals to minus, what is the value of x? 0 as squared plus 4. So this means that my y-intercept is going to be 4. Then from here, what do? My coordinate, what is the value of x I replaced? 0 is to what? 4. Okay? From here, what do? Now I have to sketch my graph. Okay? Now I have to sketch my graph. Sorry, my pen. Okay? Let's see if we'll do something better. Okay? Let's see. What is my x-intercept? Here in this case, I have -2. And in this case, I have what? I have +2. Okay? So then, what is my y-intercept? It is here at 4. So you just join, guys. You know the trend. You join this point. And starting from here, don't mind my shape. When you do it, you will have a better shape. Ne? It's that my pen today is not working proper. You will end up having something like this, but and here, what is the coordinate of this point? -2 is to 0. What is the coordinate of this point? +2 is to 0. And here, we're going to have 0 is to 4. But when you draw this graph, you will have a nice shape because you'll be using your your pencil and a ruler. Okay? And then, this case, now, I think by having this graph, we'll have some follow-up questions. Okay? What kind of questions um um can we expect and can we look forward on having them when having this kind of graph? We can have the issue of range. Now we are going to interpretation. We can have the issue of range. Okay? Range. Range is, it must be, since you know this graph is concave down. Concave down, it means that A is less than 0. Okay? And with that, we know that what? We know that the shape is concave down. So even the range is going to be what? Y is going to be less than or equals to the y-intercept. What is my y-intercept here? That is 4. That is my range. Okay? That is my range. So let's talk about the issue of domain. Okay, now let's say this graph was something like this. What I was going to, was something like this, concave up. Let's say my graph was something like this. What I was going to say, I was going to say y is greater or equals to, let's say it was -4. I was going to be greater or equals to -4. Okay, that's it. So by so doing, what other question can you expect? Okay, you can expect the question that says determine the value of x for which f at x will be greater than 0. So these statements, they say determine the values of x for which f at x will be greater than 0. So here, greater than 0 is where the graph is above. It's where the graph is above. Okay, so where the graph is above. The graph starting from this point, you see this point, this part. This graph is above the x-axis. It's above the x-axis. So they want that coordinate where the graph is greater than 0. You see, where the graph is above. My point of reference is what, guys? Is the x-axis. And you know this line is what? Is x-axis. So my x-axis is my point of reference. I want the values of x where the graph is above. So it's going to be what? It's going to be an interval, guys. Do you see that? It's going to be interval because it's starting from -2 up until 2. So x will be less than, greater than. Here what I write the smallest number, which is -2. And here the biggest number, which is 2. That is my answer. That's where my graph is above the x-axis. Okay, so I think let's have one question on this one. So yeah, let's have this one. Let's have this question, please. Okay, let's have this question. Okay, let's have this question. Okay, yeah, I think it is clear now. So the first question, it says that the diagram shows the graph of g at x is equal to ax squared plus q, and f at x is equal to mx plus c. R and S are the x-intercept of g, and t is the y-intercept of g. Graph of f passes through R and t. So here, what are we going to do? Now they say write down the range. You know that the range, the graph, what is the value of a? It should be less than 0 because my graph is concave down. So for concave down, what is the range? The range I told you that y it takes this sign is less than or equals to what? To the y value. What is the y value of x of y-intercept here? Here's my y-intercept. The y value is 8. So here's my answer. So it means that the answer here, y is less than or equals to 8. That is my range. Do you get it, class? And then write down the x coordinate of r. Okay? Of r. Since here, if you know the midpoint, here it's at what? 0. The distance from here to this point is the same as distance from here to this point. Do you get what I'm saying, class? If starting from 0 to 2, what is the distance? It's going to be 2. Also, here, starting from here to this point, it's going to be what? To be 2 also. But since I'm on the left, it's going to be what? Negative. Because here is on a negative x-axis. So it means that the coordinate of r is going to be what? -2 is to 0. Okay, because the y value here is 0 because it's on the x-axis. Do you see that? And then here we are saying then they're saying calculate the values of a and q. Okay, calculate the value of a and q. So what I'm going to have, guys, now I'm given the equation that says f at x is going to be what? Ax squared plus q. Can you please try this, class? Can I give just for 2 minutes? Try this for 2 minutes, class. I want to see how do you understand this question. Okay, try this for 2 minutes. Okay, and now what do we do, class? We know what is the value of Q. Q is what? Is my y-intercept. What is my y-intercept here? It's 8. So that my equation, now you substitute it to the equation. It's going to be ax squared plus 8. Because Q it is what? My y-intercept. Okay? And how I'm going to solve for value of A? You substitute any point. Okay? Substitute any point. Okay? Let's choose to substitute point S. What is point S? Is 2 is to 0. So where there is y, I substitute what? 0. It's going to be A. Where there is x, I substitute what? 2 squared plus 8. What do? I take this 8 to the other side. It's going to be minus 8 is equals to 2 to the power of 2 is going to be 4a. And I divide by 4. So what is the value of a? It's minus 2. Okay? Do you get that, class? That's how we solve the value of a and q. Okay? So now, let's move to the next question. And now, the next question says, determine the equation of f at x. Okay? I'm given that f at x is equals to mx plus c. Okay? And then, what I'm having here? So here, what I'm having is that is simple. We know that R is the point on f at x and also g at x. Okay, and the value of c here on a straight line is also what? Y-intercept. You see, so it's that I replace my y-intercept. It's going to be mx. What is the value of y there? Plus 8. Okay, and now I can choose to substitute what? Sub point what? Point R. Okay, which is minus 2 is to 0. So what I'm going to, okay, let me wrap this side so I can. So what I'm going to have here, I'm going to have let's substitute the point. The equation now will be saying f at x is going to be what? It's going to be mx plus 8. Let's sub point R. What is the y value of point R? That is 0 into m. What is the value of x? Minus 2 plus 8. And I have to take this 8 to the other side. It's going to be minus 8 is equals to minus 2m. Divide by minus 2. What is the value of m? It's going to be 4. Okay, now let's substitute everything back to the equation. F at x is equals to, what is the value of m? 4x. What is the value of c? Plus 8. That is our equation, class. That's how we solve this equation. Okay, and now let's move. Okay, let me write it here. My equation, it says y is equals to 4x plus 8. Okay, let me erase this other stuff. Okay, you can pause this video and try this question. Now, I'm told that use your graph to determine the values of x for which. Now they're saying f at x, is equals to g at x. So this is the point of intersection. Where does this two graph intersect? They intersect here at x is equals to -2, and here at what? At x is equals to 0. So the values is that what? Is x is equals to -2 or x is equals to 0. Those are your answers, guys. Then now we are told that determine the values of x where x, line x of axis multiplied by the graph of zx is less than negative. Okay, so let's say positive multiplied by negative is going to be negative number, and then also negative multiplied by positive is going to be negative number. So now we want to, where the graph is below x-axis and on a positive x-axis, where the graph is below the line x-axis and on a positive x-axis. Let's start here. This part, the graph is below. Is it the x-axis positive or negative? That is positive. And this graph is on a what? Let me erase this. And the graph is on a negative because here we have -1, negative. So this graph is on a negative. So starting from this point 2 going to the other side, that's where when we multiply the x-axis and the graph is going to give what? A negative number. Okay, since 0 it is included, my answer will be what? X is greater than or equals to 2. Or now let's check for the other answer. I want where the graph is up this time because I want where the graph is up. It's up here because here I'm moving +1, +2, +3, and and this side, starting from here, going this side, the graph is what? Is I mean, the graph is positive, but the x-axis is what? Is negative. So it's going to be negative by positive, and it's going to give us negative answer. Okay? So let's check. Starting from this point, what is the point there? It's -2. Do you remember? It's to 0. Starting from here up until here, the graph is above the x-axis. It means that the graph is positive. But does the x-axis positive here? No, they are negative. Starting from where? 0. Starting from here up until here. So what is the other answer of no? What is the other answer? The other answer is going to be what? It's going to be x, because we are told that 0 is included, -2 is to what? Is to 0. Okay, let me write this clear. I'm having -2 and what? And 0. Okay, that's what I'm having. Okay, so then our last question is going to be what? It's going to be the graph of H is obtained when G is reflected along the line Y is equals to 0. So when they say it's reflected about the line along line Y is equals to 0, they mean that it's reflected above Y axis. Okay? When it's reflected above Y axis, doing that my graph was having what? Was having my original graph. So if I substitute everything, it was having f at x. So what is the value of a that we calculated? It was -2. X, what is the value of q? It was 8. So this y is equals to -2x plus 8. So they reflected along y, I mean. So we introduce negative here. And then what do we do after? We have to cancel this negative. So we divide everything by negative number, -1, -1. So what will be my new equation? Negative will cancel negative. I will have 2x squared. Negative, positive by negative is going to be -8. Then that is my new equation, which will be named h hat x, because they said the graph h hat h is obtained. Okay, so that's how I do it. Okay, now guys, we are moving nicely. Okay, Now, we can now go to exponential. We can now move to what, guys? Exponential graph. Okay. I will start by showing you also I'll start by showing you how to sketch. Okay. Also, since you know that we are not starting from the scratch, let's say we are given that the graph of f at x is equals to what? 2 to the power of x minus 1. Okay. Then we are told that sketch the following graph. Today I want to show you how to sketch the following graph. Okay. And what do I do? For x-intercept, I told you y is equals to 0. Always. Okay. So let me write this exponential, guys. Exponential graph. Okay. Now, what I'm going to have y is equals to 2 to the power of x minus 1. So where there is y, I must substitute what? 0, guys. Then it's going to be 2 to the power of x minus 1. Okay. And then from here, what do I do, guys? So now the thing that I have to do is to say that take this minus 1 to the other side. Then it's going to be 1 is equals to 2x. Remember the rule that says x to the power of 0 is equals to 1. Any number to the power of 0 is equals to 1. So let's express this in terms of 2. It's going to be 2 to the power of 0 is equals to 2x. And you know the rule that says when the bases are the same, we assume that exponents are the same also. So x is going to be 0. So what is my coordinate? 0 is to 0. Okay. Now we move and now we're calculating what? Y-intercept. Okay. And y-intercept, let me remind you, what do? We let x to be what? To be 0. Okay. So my equation says y is equals to 2x minus 1. Let's let x to be 0. Okay. Let's let x to be 0. So we're going to have 2, 0, minus 1. When you press your calculator, what are you going to have? You are going to have what? 0. Okay? Means that also my y-intercept is 0 is to 0. So what is this value? Minus 1. I want us to talk about this value, guys. Minus 1. This is my horizontal asymptote. Horizontal asymptote. Okay? And now, what do? I sketch my graph. Okay? I sketch my graph. What is my asymptote? That is 1 because my graph says f at x is equals to 2 to the power of x minus 1. Okay? So here at minus 1, I'm going to draw a dotted line to indicate what? Asymptote. And my graph will never touch this line. Okay? So my x and y intercept is here where 0 is to 0. And now you just draw your graph, but It must not touch what? That asymptote. That's your graph. And you name it f at x is going to be 2x, 2 to the power of x minus 1. To get that class, so that is that is your graph. So let's talk about the issue of range. Okay, so range, it must be within the graph, starting from the asymptote, the graph. Okay, does the graph goes below the asymptote? No, it goes above the asymptote. So my range is going to be y greater than, what is the below asymptote? -1. So it will be greater than -1. That's for x, for domain, x for domain. X is going to be element of all real number. Starting from 0 to the negative x-axis, my graph exists. Okay, starting from 0 to the positive x-axis, my graph exists. That's why x is the element of all real numbers. Okay, so let's now check if we have something. Okay, yes, we have something. We have something different, guys. Let's try this. Okay, I'm gonna try to erase this quick as quick as I can. Okay, here's the graph. Here's our graph. And it's question 6. And we are told that the graph of g at x is equals to minus 2x plus 8. Okay? We're told that is equals to minus 2x plus 8. Okay? And by our given information, what do we know? We know the equation, and we're told that a and b are the y and x intercept, okay, respectively to g. Write down the range of g. I told you g, since the graph is concave down, okay, starting from this dotted line going up, does my graph exist there? No. But starting from the asymptote going down, does my graph exist? Yes. Okay, so now we check what is your asymptote? That is here, the value of q. Okay, because remember your formula says y is equals to a, is it a b x plus q. Okay, I think that is your format. So what is your range? Y, does it exist when y is greater than or below 8? When it is below 8, that is your range. Okay, so then what do we do from here? The next question says calculate the coordinate of b. If you check b is my what, then this is my 6.1. Okay, if you check b is my what, b is my x-intercept, guys. Do you see that? So 6.2, I told you for x-intercept I let y to be 0. Okay, and then what I'm going to have, 0 is equals to minus 2x plus 8. I take 8 to the other side. It's going to be minus 8 is equals to minus 2 to the power of x. Okay, and then I do what? I divide by -1. I'm going to have 8 is equals to 2 to the power of x. Now, in my Casio calculator, I press 8 Then I press equal sign, I press shift, and I press the button that is written fact. Then what I'm going to have, I'm going to have 2 to the power of 3 is equals to 2 to the power of x. And now I use the rule that says when the base is the same, we assume that exponent is the same. So x is going to be 3. So what is the value of b? B is 3. What is the y value that I replaced with? 0. That is my coordinate of b. Okay, do you see that class? So now I have 6.3 equation. Okay, 6.3. It says if G is reflected, if G is reflected over the x-axis to form a new graph H. Okay, if G is reflected over the x-axis to form a new graph H. Okay, determine the equation of H. Okay, I think in previous where we in the question where we told y is equals to 0, I think I said that the graph is reflected above y-axis. Sorry guys, that wasn't a mistake. It was reflected above the x-axis, but I think the procedure was correct. Ne? Is that the graph was reflected above what? Above the x-axis. Okay, I'm sorry for that. Okay, you will rectify. But I think the procedure is correct. Is what is the way I said it was incorrect. So now my graph it says y is equals to what? Minus 2x plus 8. And the graph is reflected above the x-axis. So it means where there is y, I must introduce what? Negative. So I'm going to have negative y is equals to negative 2x plus 8. And I divide by negative 1. We're going to have what? Y is equals to 2 to the power of x minus 8. That is my new graph. And I will name it what? G at x. Oh, it's h to form h. And I will name it h at x is equals to 2 to the power of x minus 8. Okay? And now, the question that we're having, it says explain why the x-intercept of G and H are both at V. So here we'll see what? We'll simply say the graph, you will say the graph of G was what? Was reflected over the x-axis. The x-axis to form the graph of what? Of H. Okay? So this means when y is equals to 0, the solution will will be the same. Will be the same for both graphs. Okay? That's what we're having. Okay? And now I think I must introduce a new function. Okay. Do you know the function that is called hyperbola, guys? Do you know a hyperbola? Hyperbola function. That's what we are going to do now. We are going to do what? Hyperbola function. Okay. Hyperbola function is simple, guys. Let's tackle it together. I believe in you guys. Okay. So now we're talking about what? We're talking about hyperbola. Okay. So what I'm going to, the format, it says what? Y is equals to A over X plus Q. Again, what is the value of Q? Horizontal asymptote. Okay. When A is greater than 0, my graph will be what? Will be where? In first quadrant and what? In second quadrant. Okay. But when A is less than 0, my graph will be where? I mean, in second and third, in first and third, I mean, here, when A is greater than 0, my graph will be in first and third. But when A is less than 0, my graph will be in second and what? In fourth quadrant. I hope you get that. Okay. Now, let's have something. Now we will be talking about how to sketch the graph. Okay. How to sketch the graph. Let's say we're given the equation that says let me check. Let's say we're given the equation that says okay, let's start simple. F of x is equals to 1 over x minus 1. When you are told that sketch the graph, okay, what will be it? You know, for x-intercept, we're going to have what? We let y to be 0. So in this case, we're going to have 0 is equals to 1 over x minus 1. We take this one to the other side, 1 is equals to 1 over x. We cross multiply. X is going to be 1. What is the coordinate? 1 is to 0. Then for y-intercept, what I'm going to have, I let x to be 0. And I'm leaving y is equals to 1 over x minus 1. Wait that is x, I substitute 0. 1 over 0 minus 1. Okay? And here, I'm having what? I'll be having my intercept as what? As minus 1. Okay? Okay? And I know that Q is what? Is my vertical asymptote. I mean horizontal asymptote. The graph will never touches asymptote. So it means that this one will be, and it will not work because the graph will never touches what is minus 1. Okay? Let's come here. Let's sketch our graph. Why do we start sketching? Okay. Let me draw something. Okay. That's what we're aiming. Okay. And now we start by what? What is my asymptote? It's minus 1. I start here. I have to do what? With dotted lines, guys. It's either dashed or dotted, whatever. What is my x-intercept? It is here. At what? At 1 is to 0. Okay? So my graph will be what? Something like this. but it will never touches the asymptote. And this point, I'm going to do the same. It's going to be something like, okay, that is my graph. So for x-intercept, I will not touch because the graph will never touches where x is -1 because it is my asymptote. So forget about this. Okay. And now, what is the question that you can expect? Okay. Let's say they can ask you um let's say um they say write down the equation of asymptote for this graph. So you are going to say what? Y is equals to what is the asymptote? -1. That is your equation of asymptote. You see? So let's see what we have today in hyperbola. Okay, here's my hyperbola. Okay, okay, okay. In the equation above, we are told that H below shows the graph of f at x, which is given by k over x plus w. Do you see that class? And then we are also told that ng at x is equals to minus x minus 1. The graph is an axis of symmetry. The graph of g is the axis of symmetry of f at x, of f. The graph f and g intersect at p and q. Okay, and now we're told write down the value of w. We know that w is what is the horizontal asymptote, the line that the graph will never touches. Okay, the line that the graph will never touch. So if we check, what is that line here? Obvious. You see, this graph at this part, it is close to 0. So it means that the value of w is what? Is 0. Okay? Okay? I mean, the value of w, the line that the graph will never touch. Okay? It's going to be, sorry, I'm not, no, it's not that, it's not 0. It's going to be what? It's going to be -1. W is equals to -1. Okay? Because it will never touch its what? -1. Okay? And now 6.2. The point -2 is to 7 is on it lies on f at x. Calculate the value of k. Okay? So the value of k is going to be what? Now we replace that w in our equation that says f at x is going to be what? It's going to be k over x minus 1. And then let's sub this point -2 is to 7. Here I'm going to have 7 is equals to k. What is the value of x? -2 minus 1. And I take this one to the other side. It's going to be 8 is equals to k over -2. So k is going to be what, guys? -16. Okay? And 6.2.3, calculate the x coordinate of P and Q. Do you see? P and Q is a point of intersection. It's where f at x is equals to g at x. Okay, let me erase here. So let me write the equation of f at x is f at x is going to be what? Minus 16 over what? Over x minus 1. Let me erase this so that I can write it in a proper way. Okay, now I see what? F at x is equals to g at x because it's a point of intersection. Okay, what is f at x? Minus 16 over x minus 1. What is g at x? Minus x minus 1. So if I take this one to the other side, it's going to cancel this one. Okay, I will be left with minus 16 over x is equals to minus x, and I cross multiply. Minus 16 is equals to minus x squared. I divide by negative 1, then x squared is equals to 16, and I take this to the other side. So x squared minus 16 is equals to 0. Now it's a difference of two squares. Do you see that, guys? Okay, what do I do now? Sorry, this is 16. Now I see two brackets is equals to 0. Here I have x, and here I have x. I have minus 4, I have positive 4. So x is equals to 4, or x is equals to minus 4. Those are my answers. So this one is the value of what? 4 is for Q, and minus 4 is for P. That's it, guys. That's how I deal with these questions. Okay, and we have 6.2.4. It says write down the values of x for which minus 16 over x is greater than minus x. Okay, so it says that minus 16 over x is greater than what? It's greater than minus x. Okay, so if you check, let's solve this. Minus 16 over x greater than minus x. Okay, what are we? We take this to multiply. Minus 16 greater than minus x squared. We divide by negative, it's going to be 16 less than x squared. Okay, so what will be my answers? So my answers, we check from the equation, from our graph. My answers is going to be x, it will be greater than 4. Okay, which 4? The 4 that I got here. Do you see? And the other answer is going to be what? Minus 4x into 0, because it is an interval, because it's less than. Do you see that? That's where the x will be greater than 16. It's greater than the intersection. Actually, we want where the f at x will be greater than 16. And we know that Q and P are intersection. So with the graph of f at x, it's on top. It is here. It's greater than what? Than f at, I mean the graph of f at x is greater than what? Than that one of than the graph of g at x. Even starting from P up until 0. The graph of f at x is on top. Do you see this part? It's on top of f at x. Even starting from this point, going this side, the graph of f at x is on top. So this is my answers. Okay, thank you guys, until we meet on the next less than.